Welcome to the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball, beautiful Fountain Valley, California, here in Orange County for the biggest handball tournament of the year. My name is Dave Vincent alongside Dave Fink for the Watch ESPN app as we give you this coverage all across America in millions of homes, and we appreciate those that have tuned in to watch the men's finals right now. Paul Brady going up against Luis Moreno. We have the world's #1 in Paul Brady and the #1 ranked, power-ranked Luis Moreno kicking it off against each other. Dave, what is Paul Brady going to have to do here to defeat this young stud, the #1 player, Luis Moreno?
Well, Dave, for those who have not watched handball before or not seen it, handball requires mastery of both hands, being able to hit the ball equally well with both your right hand and your left hand. Both these guys, of course, are completely ambidextrous. They've trained their whole lives, Dave, so that their left hand and right hand are equal. They can literally hit the ball on a dime with either hand, and that's what makes this game so cool, Dave, is that you have to develop both sides of your body, both sides of your brain, and when you do that, there's nothing more fun than playing handball.
Well, okay, so these guys are going to have their hands full. Luis Moreno, he is trying to defeat for the first time in tournament play since that 2008 quarterfinal victory against Paul Brady. He's going to try to defeat him one more time. What is Luis Moreno going to have to do now to get Paul Brady down and keep him down? Because Paul finds a way to fight back and win if he's ever down.
Well, Paul's one of the greatest champions in sports. I mean, for those who don't know him, he is Tiger Woods from 1999 to 2008. He's the guy that's completely dominant. He's this generation's greatest player. He's won the World Championship 4 times in a row. He's won the National Championship 9 times in his last 9 appearances. He's won this event every time he's played except for once. In fact, only losing 2 matches in the last 9 years, one of those coming just a couple months ago at the Players Championship. Luis Moreno is one of those 2 guys to beat him. That was in 2008. And, Dave, a lot of people watching, including myself, think that this is Luis Moreno's best opportunity. Luis Moreno is firmly entrenched in his prime at 26 years old. Paul Brady now on the other side of 35. He's also got an undisclosed hand injury to his left thumb, which may or may not factor in today. But, Dave, Luis Moreno training harder than I've ever seen him. We live and train in the same club. Luis is there at least 4 or 5 hours per day. And he's putting a lot into this match. And, Dave, he's completely dominated all 3 of his opponents thus far in this event. Paul Brady has struggled at times, in fact, losing a game yesterday in the semifinals, which is very uncharacteristic for him. So, Dave, a lot of people think, and myself included, if it's going to happen, today's going to be the day for Luis Moreno.
Now, there's a lot of handball viewers, but there's a lot of people that are viewing in right now to see handball for the very first time. What is the basic concept of this sport as we now see the announcement here from our referee and get these guys in? As brief as you can, what are these players trying to do?
Well, the first shot is called the serve, and you have to hit the front wall first. And if you get a shot of the court, Dave, the front wall is the wall directly
0, serving 0.
in front here with the camera where it says handball on both sides. You have to hit that front wall first, and you have to hit it over that second line where Paul Brady's right foot is.
Okay.
Now, after the serve, you can hit any wall first as long as it hits the front wall at some point.
Well, it looks like Paul did what you just said, and he made it perfect. He hit that serve, got it in, and then hit the front wall.
And lastly, the ball can only bounce once. You can take the ball before it bounces. You can take the ball off the walls, but it can only hit the floor 1 time. And that's about it, Dave. That's all you really need to know.
Well, it's pretty simple. Any ball, any wall is sort of a universal phrase here in handball.
And you'll see that here today as we'll go outside and play 1 wall and 3 wall.
Side out.
Paul Brady has that 1-0 lead, but Luis Moreno is serving. Best 2 out of 3 to 21. Tiebreaker played to 11.
Serving 1.
Oh, terrible serve. Bad bounce. Back wall. Paul takes it.
Luis does not look warmed up to me, Dave. I saw him out here just about 10 minutes before this match started. He still looked like he was sleepwalking.
You're going to have to ask. I wasn't looking for it. What? We're going to replay it. Replay. You just play it. We got good linesmen, okay? If I miss something, we'll get it.
I don't know,
serving
Dave.
1.
Just because Moreno saw it doesn't mean everybody else saw that slide, to include our cameras.
I see Paul Brady very hesitant with his left hand right now, and that is the injured hand.
Look how these guys are picking up those balls, Dave.
Oh my gosh. Dave, if that's any indication of what we're going to see, and it is, just absolutely amazing. These two have played some of the best matches we've ever seen in handball.
1 serving 0.
Including most recently in March.
Oh, we play. That's no.
Oh no, and Paul Brady now grabbing his left arm. Dave, he grabbed his arm like it was broken, and I think he might have hit Luis in the backswing. It didn't look like he did, but something went awry there, whether it was his thumb again or...
Paul might have dislocated his elbow here. Paul needs somebody to come onto the court here. He's really in a lot of pain.
Yeah, I've never seen this from Paul Brady. And Dave, talking to Boak Ferris yesterday, who was...
Take your time. I'm starting the injury clock, though.
Very observant. He also understands the human body. He said Paul Brady was wearing that wrap or that brace on his left forearm, said that there's something wrong with his wrist.
Ooh, boy, ow. That looked like it really hurt.
He did hit Luis there
on
the backswing.
Yeah, and if you have a woozy, boy, that's one of those that you can break the capsule on, Dave. This looks sick.
Wow.
Almost Ricky Williams sick. I don't know how Paul's able to clinch this arm. This is not going to be easy to play here. I don't know how Paul's going to be able to continue. Dave, here it is. Oh. Wow, complete hyperextension. And that's the
real
long backswing that these Irish players have, and nobody can actually...
This is bad. You get caught right back here.
Boy, I'll tell you.
So right when he caught Moreno.
We'll take a look at it one more time, but Paul Brady needs medical assistance. I mean, this is...
And Moreno was moving from his return position around him. I thought he gave him plenty of room.
Dave, you'll see it here.
Okay.
I don't know how this is not a broken arm.
Quite seen it.
No, you'll see it.
Okay.
Watch this arm, right? Bam!
Oh, okay.
That looks like it should have been broken. We need to have a doctor look at Paul Brady.
Well, he's with Annette now, who's a healer. She's done some great work for handball players here, Dave.
Well,
she's got lasers and
there's
massage.
no way Paul Brady's going to win this U.S. Open now.
Wow.
I mean, Dave, that you cannot play with one arm against Luis Moreno. You just can't do it. And that's just an unfortunate accident. And as you heard the announcement from the referee, he said it best, that Luis didn't gauge how big these Irish players take that backswing. And that's Paul came back and takes a huge backswing. And that's not what normal players in America do. And Luis certainly not knowing that Paul's going to stick his arm out like that. As you can see, when Paul swings by, Luis is getting out of the way, but doesn't anticipate this. Watch where Paul brings it back now. And Paul
I believe, Dave, that's his third injury below the elbow on his left arm.
Yeah, this is incredible pain right here. And you can see Paul at the fitness table. I don't know why he would even continue.
Well, I think you know why.
I was just going to bring up that there was sort of a social network kind of...
I mean, Dave, Paul Brady played with his hip off the bone, I believe, in the World Championships in 2009. He played with a broken finger in 2011, winning the All-Ireland Championships. He's played through some pretty significant injuries, Dave, in the past. And, you know, I can't gauge how much pain he's in now, but I know how hard it is to play with a broken finger. And he's won with that. He's won with some sort of injury off the bone. That was how it was told to me, but it was painful, whatever it was. He's now back in the court.
I just don't know how you're able to hit a ball after that happens. Of course, now you and I are not on the court. We didn't have it happen. And he, obviously, it's not broken because he's bending it. I don't think you can hit a ball. But this first one he hits with his left arm could be so painful that he might not even try it.
And if you're Luis Moreno, do you just pepper every ball to his left hand at this point?
Well, Charlie Shanks would. That means that Luis probably should.
Okay, it's 3 minutes.
But it's
he
really
didn't try to hit one with his left hand there, Dave.
No.
I'm surprised. I would think he would want to know what. what he's dealing with.
Serving
If
0.
Paul Brady can take down Luis Moreno here after that injury, it'd be one of his greatest wins. It's a short ball.
I think Paul Brady needs to keep the ball to Luis's left because Luis's left will bring the ball back to Paul's right. When Luis hits the ball with his right hand, he's going to hit it cross court to Paul's
Point.
left hand. And, you know, Dave, it's challenging when your opponent is injured because then you don't know what to do. First of all, he feels badly because the injury was as a result of making contact with him. Second of all, Luis is a great competitor and he wants to beat people at their best. And now he has, you know, no idea what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's a confusing moment for a pro athlete because, especially because he caused the injury. So that even makes it even worse. You almost kind of want to give him a free pass. And this game is a gentleman's sport, and these guys are nice guys. They're not like gladiators out there.
Despite the fact that Luis Moreno said, I want to crush Paul Brady, and that was his exact quote yesterday in his post-match interview, he doesn't want to crush an injured, one-armed Paul Brady. He wants to crush Paul Brady in full flight.
I don't think that when he said crush, he meant crush his elbow.
Appeal. Call stands. Second serve.
But, you know, Dave, Luis Moreno, just as this match was starting, I mentioned that, and Paul looks okay now. I mentioned that he looked like he was sleepwalking. He's not a morning person, Dave.
Replay.
And Dave, you spar with Luis Moreno quite a bit, sometimes even at 6 a.m., and you know that with each hour he gets better. I'd say he's probably more of a noon person for his best play, but certainly at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. he's not what he is. Yeah, no, it's great if you're playing him.
But then when you and Sean Lenning come in at 11:30 and play him on that same day, by the way.
Point.
And there's another point now for Paul Brady.
And no, this is just a disastrous start for Luis Moreno. You'd say, well, disastrous start for Paul Brady because he's injured, but it's just not a good start at all for Luis.
And now Paul's really pumped up too. He scored 5 points since, and Luis has only hit 2 balls to his left hand. Make that 3. Paul uses a backhand to get it back. Only 2 balls Paul's had to hit with his left.
Well, he hit both of them pretty well. A stiff arm, but
serving 6.
Still.
At the same time, good, yeah.
How can you successfully test it? The ball sounds like it just got popped.
Well, it hit the window there. Wow. Oh,
Side out.
This is why Paul's a champion. He's such a fighter.
6 serving 0. Side out. Zero serving 6.
Dave, I don't think the crowd knows what to do right now, and
Point.
I don't think we do
I
either.
called the ball good.
That was good.
One disagrees. Luis, I'm going to play 2 serves.
Ooh.
Luis
is not going to like this, Dave.
2 serves. Yeah, 1 disagreed, 1 agreed.
Oh, my. We'll cue up that instant
No,
replay,
it's not
Dave,
short either. It's 2 serves.
when we get an
Zero
opportunity.
serving 6.
I definitely thought that was good. Our referee did as well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Replay.
And that's another tough one, but
You can
you know,
both
Dave,
get
we've
those
talked
balls.
about this, and
Don't question me on a get.
uh-oh.
I don't
Zero
remember
serving
the
6.
players weren't really questioning anybody.
Short.
But you know, Dave, one call from a referee, it can change things. I don't think it will at this point, but
Second serve.
it can make a difference.
Don't question me on a get.
Paul Brady has not taken a full swing with his left. He's hit 4
Point.
balls with his left hand. They've all been stiff arms. But he's got a 6-1 lead using the
1
stiff arm.
serving 6.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, that ball really hopped though. Even though it was overhit, Moreno's still in this rally.
Oh, Luis is
Point.
crushing the ball now, Dave.
That was one of the hardest balls we've seen Luis hit in this tournament. And it was right back at Paul's left hand. The last thing you want to do is disrespect Luis
2
because he'll
serving
do
6.
some amazing things on the court.
Side Side out.
He might be Mr. Nice Guy during that injury, but if he feels disrespected in any way here, he's going to go hit every ball to Paul's left.
Well, I think the injury is in the
6,
past now. I don't
serving
see
2.
any residual lingering effects from that.
Short.
We'll have an interview with the owner of Simple Green,
Second serve.
Bruce Fabrizio, here after we get that first timeout or towel break.
Point.
And there's another point for Paul Brady. Is Moreno at all nervous here?
7, serving 2.
I wouldn't say he's nervous, but I just don't think he's properly warmed up. You know, Dave,
Wide ball. Just replay.
I mean, I'm seeing some
7,
great shots here,
serving
Dave. They're
2.
just being negated. I don't understand.
I guess the sideline judges agreed with that appeal, though, Dave.
Point.
And there's
You know,
another
Dave,
miss.
You see baseball players, and baseball is not
8, serving
nearly
2.
the ballistic type of action that handball is. They're warming up for 4 hours before a game, Dave. They get to the park at 3 p.m. for a 7 o'clock game, stretching, hitting, stretching, throwing, stretching. Handball requires
9,
so much
serving
more
2.
physically than baseball, and yet these guys, or Luis
Short.
Moreno at least, got here 10 minutes before the match started. I mean, Dave, I think he should have been here at 7
Second
a.m.
But that's how he does it.
Well, I'm just
I know
saying.
that's his style. Everybody has their pregame warm-up.
Well, there's something to what all these teams do, every team and every
Right.
athlete, and there's a reason
Now
they're
Paul
doing
is
it.
asking for a slide on the right wall. Mondo. It's a replay.
Oh my gosh.
Both of the players saw it. Paul swung and missed on that ball on the left, on that right wall there, Dave.
9, serving 2.
Paul Brady back in the box. Luis cannot buy a
Short.
break here. Boy, Paul hit that so hard. I don't know how you can call it short.
Second serve.
It's hard to see.
I think it's the hardest call from that angle for the referee. Paul has dramatically improved his Z serve, second serve since yesterday, Dave, where he was leaving it too short.
Hold it. You got to.
Could be an avoidable called here.
9, serving 2.
Boy, because, you know, Luis also had Paul pinned.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you want that as a
Right
player.
out.
And there's a miss hit from Paul Brady off the
Ball
right
line.
hand.
It's one of the few times I've seen Paul step outside of his comfort
2,
zone system and go for
9.
the wrong shot.
Side out.
You know,
Boy.
Dave, one of the things that makes Paul so great is he knows exactly what he wants to do with the ball from every spot on the court. There's no indecision. He doesn't go for crazy, unbelievable shots. He goes for the shots that he's comfortable making.
9,
And of
serving
course,
2.
he backs that up with, you know, unbelievable power and precision. But it starts with the decision making.
Has to be a
gosh.
timeout called soon, Dave, right? I mean, you can't just allow 10 points and get on the board and no timeout.
10, serving 2.
Paul looks to the right, probably going to serve. Okay. That's going to set up Luis later.
Side out.
Unable to track that one down. Luis with those amazing serves are going to get into the service box trying to get off the Schneid here.
Well, I think Luis against anybody else can use the first 10 points of a match to work his way into a
2,
groove. But
serving
against
10.
Paul Brady, you don't have that luxury.
Short.
You know, yesterday, Dave, against Nani Alvarado, he was tied
Second
at 9
serve.
before he went into full flight. You bring that same early game warm-up against Paul Brady, and you're down 10-2
Right.
in 6 minutes. Now Luis,
Point.
Dave, will have to outscore Paul Brady literally 2-1 to win this first game.
3, serving 10. Side
A
out.
terrible hander there, Dave, from Luis. Looked like he tried to overhit that. He didn't need to
10,
overhit
serving
that.
3.
Just had to take a smooth swing in the left corner.
Point.
I don't think Luis is moving his feet well either,
On
Dave.
the serve, that's his serve. Slide on the serve. Point. 11, serving 3.
What was Luis arguing there?
Side out.
Luis gets a good break there. Paul Brady loves a challenge, Dave, and we heard Luis Moreno say he's going to crush him tomorrow.
Serving 11.
Sound like that ball broke.
Point.
Yeah, that one actually sounded like a broken ball. And I wouldn't be surprised if you'd see one
11.
or 2 or 3 go down here. These guys are both the 2 hardest hitters in the game, really.
That's Luis Moreno handball right there. Beautiful serve, perfect fly kill.
5, serving 11. Side out.
Man, this really is top-notch handball here. And look how many people are just trying to poke their faces into the show court.
11, serving 5. Short. Second serve.
Almost a double fault there.
Side out. 5, serving 11. Side out. Oh, oh. Eleven, serving 5. Short. Second serve.
Dave, you've been on the court with both of these guys in tournament play as a current top pro player, giving us color commentary, but you've
5, serving 11.
faced Luis and Paul Brady. What does it do to your body
Short.
during the match and after the match when you face one of these dudes?
It feels like you got run over
Second
by a
serve.
truck.
But when they play each other, don't you think that they're also feeling it too, or is this a lot of this just energy and you know, they're running on fumes and all that stuff?
It's hard to say how their bodies feel, and you know, I don't know that they disclose all that much. But Luis has some of the best recovery I've ever seen from match to match, and Paul Brady, of course, just seems to get stronger as
5,
tournaments
serving 11.
go on. So I'm thinking right now, and you heard Luis say in an interview that he feels like with each round he gets more flexible, he feels better, and maybe actually they feel better playing each other. It's like a yoga session for them.
I'm just surprised with this pace that nobody's called a timeout. And Dave, you and I, if we were in there, we'd be on our second or third. And there's the timeout called from Paul Brady.
1 minute scores 11-5. Can we get some people on the walls, please?
Let's go to our courtside announcer, Kara Mack, who has the owner of Simple Green, Bruce Fabrizio, courtside. Kara.
Hey guys, yes I do. This is a great event. To have it come down to Moreno and to Paul Brady, what does that mean for this event and for you guys?
Well, obviously you can see it's a global event, and it's got all the earmarkings of the 2 best in our sport. Everything's just as the competition is as good as the weather's been this weekend. I just couldn't be happier to see over 350 people from all over the North America and Ireland and Canada. Everybody's here. It's just a really nice total event.
You and your company Simple Green have sponsored this event for many years. Why this event?
Well, Nadi Alvarado not only is my best friend of my business life, but he's also the best handball player in the world as far as I'm concerned in the history of the sport. And he and I hooked up almost 30 years ago and started playing together, and I started helping his son when they did the junior nationals when Nadi Jr. was just 12, and now he's 41. So we've been doing this a long time together, and about 6-7 years ago we started talking about how could we get all 3 of the styles of handball in one place and have a festival with all 3 styles of handball, and everybody said it couldn't be done. So we decided to start the U.S. Open of handball, and here we are 6 years later with over 350 entrants. So
And really quickly, just so we can get back to the game, as far as the sport goes, many people that might be tuning into it for the first time this year, handball, what is so special about it?
Handball, because it requires unilateral coordination. There's not very many sports that require such quality strength in both forward and backward, left and right hand. And so it's what also requires you to think at an extremely high level and quick level, and making it sort of like watching a chess match at 100 miles an hour.
Great, thank you so much, Bruce. We don't want to miss one moment, so we're going to go back to the game. Dave.
Thanks. You know, I'd really like to see a chess match, but I can't say it at 100 miles an hour. It'd be a lot of fun. Bruce Fabrizio,
great analogy.
No, he ran
30
track and
seconds.
played football in college. In addition to excelling in sports, he's also an outstanding student and was valedictorian in his class in the early 70s before transferring to his college. And after he graduated from college in 74, Bruce Fabrizio devoted himself full-time to his pro football career. That's right. He did play pro football for the middle linebacker, actually, for the Chicago Bears, was Dick Butkus's replacement during that 74 season. Then he went to the WFL, I think the World Football League, where he played a full season right here in Southern California for the Sun. You might remember them. He played every snap, they said. And then right shortly after that, an injury ended his career in about 75, 76-ish. He developed Simple Green, the cleaning product, with his father. And as one of the innovators of something that's truly remarkable, Bruce Fabrizio, also playing handball, part of that Extreme Clean team, sitting courtside, and he is the father of this U.S. Open of handball.
Yeah, every handball player is extremely grateful and appreciative for what Mr. Fabrizio has done, bringing this amazing event to Southern California every October. Dave, I've received some messages, Dave, during that timeout. I didn't agree with that call, but once again, I'm not here to criticize the referees.
Nope,
Oh,
short
that was
ball.
short.
That ball was short
That
by
was short.
2 or 3 inches, and the player could actually appeal into the booth here.
I'm going to go with play 2. It was close enough that I called it good.
I don't.
If he also disagrees, then it's an overrule.
Wow, that's so short. I can't even describe how short it is.
11 serving 5.
And the referee's going to give him 2 serves on a short ball.
Luis Moreno apparently struggling with the flu right now, Dave. He'll never say it, but I've received word from his inner circle that he is, in fact, and that would explain this lethargic lack of footwork and lack of energy.
Try playing with a hyperextended elbow. And
I'd rather play with a hyperextended elbow than a flu.
Boy, Paul with another one of those big backswings. I thought Luis is going to run into him in a flat kill from Luis Moreno.
5 serving 12.
Takes a little off.
Side out.
Dave, Paul glides to that kill shot attempt from Luis Moreno,
5.
unlike anyone I've ever seen.
He has this huge lunge right at the last of his glide, too.
Most guys would dive for that, maybe get their hand on it. Paul Brady doesn't have to dive.
Point.
And Dave, this is one-way traffic now.
13 serving 5.
Paul Brady starts with a 6-0 lead. Moreno makes a slight charge, but once again, it's all Moreno.
You wouldn't have got it. It was too low.
Wow.
Are you calling for a slide on the side wall or the front wall? Where do you think it slid? Off the floor, appealing off the floor.
I think the line judges need more evident than that. Yes,
Yeah.
he did. Definitely hit the floor and slid, and then hit the sidewall and slid.
I agree with you, Dave.
13 serving 5.
And the referee is going to replay it. 13-5.
Short.
Dave, we talk about this every year, and I defer to you because
Second serve.
you're an expert on many, many things. What can they do to fix this court so that we're not replaying every point?
Yeah, one simple thing, and I actually have proposed it a few times. Wait till Moreno puts this away, and he does. Get back in. Right above our heads, you see where Paul's standing here against that wall?
Yeah.
coming back toward the back wall, up high, create a vent. You can see up here to the left of our screen now. Create a vent that goes outside, which will then blow the air out of the club right there. And that will then take that hot air that you see. The players, Katrina Casey said it in her last match, it's really hot in here. That's because this is the last thing that happens in this huge club. And if you just open it up to the outdoor air and let that come in and out, you'll be pumping out all that hot humidity. And it's pretty simple, I would think. It's like a central air system. It's not an air conditioner. You're just going to push air from inside the facility out of the facility, and that would clean that up instantly. Like push of one button, and you wouldn't have the problem at all. And that's just all they need to do, really. Now, there's structural integrity and...
That was a complete mishit from Paul Brady. He was aiming in the left corner and hit the right corner. Dave, that's a 21-foot mishit that ended the rally. Worst of all for Luis Moreno.
Oh, okay, yeah. 13, serving 6. Short!
I thought that was good, Dave.
Heel. I called short, really. Short serve, 1 agrees, second serve.
Let's cue up the instant replay on that. When we get a chance, I really did think that was good. And Paul Brady did not fist pump it, which means that it probably was good.
Here's that replay.
Maybe was short.
13, 2 serves coming, 13, serving 6.
Very tough job for our referee, who's one of the game's greatest ever players.
Wow, Paul just tees off on that ball with the bad elbow.
Well, I'm not so sure that the elbow is still bad. I know it hurt when it happened, but I think that it's no longer an issue. I'm just going to come out and say it.
Well, you and I have been in this situation before when you know that you did something bad to it, but it more or less just scared you.
Yeah.
You know, you were scared and thinking that you might have broken it, but in reality, it's like, nope, it bounced back. It's fine. You hurt your knee one time at a national championship a couple years back. You thought that you tore everything in it, but you come to find out, nope, I'm fine.
And as an athlete, you're always thinking the worst thing has happened. Every athlete's a hypochondriac to some degree.
Well, I was worried that I couldn't make it to the buffet table. I didn't care about the sport part, but I was an athlete at that at one point in my life. 14-6. Going to 21, tiebreaker to 11, but I don't think that we'll even see anything like that as Paul Brady is just crushing Luis Moreno right now and making it look easy.
Well, this isn't the Luis Moreno we saw yesterday, Dave.
Well, the Luis Moreno we saw yesterday, who now somehow has the flu today,
said that happens.
I just don't know people that get the flu overnight like this.
Well, how do you think it happens? It doesn't take 3 weeks to get a flu.
Well, you do feel it coming on. Yesterday, he would have felt it. He said that he was going to crush Brady. Certainly didn't have the flu then.
Serving 15.
Well, I can speak from personal experience. I felt fine 1 minute and I was in the hospital 30 minutes later with an IV. So, I mean, I didn't feel that coming on.
15, serving 7.
Inside out, nice serve right there from Paul.
Side out.
Paul let that ball drop a little too far.
7,
I've never seen a guy allow the ball to drop all the way down to the ground before they attempted it.
Short.
You know, those back glass wall shots there are really hard to hit sometimes here. It's so dark.
Yeah, that was the worst serve Luis could have hit. He'd been better off hitting an underhand lob right down the middle of the court.
15, serving 7.
Dave, I think we're all stunned here. Not that Paul Brady is winning, but the way he's doing it. This is not very competitive. I mean, remember, Dave, in Paul Brady's first round, he trailed 14-7. Yesterday, he was blown out in the first game. Now here he is against the #1 player, just directing traffic.
16, serving 7.
I don't even know that he's broken a sweat yet. Wow.
Hold it. He's got that big left backswing. I was afraid of his backswing, like what happened before. Right or wrong, that's the call.
It wasn't
16,
there. The hold it, we'll watch it till the end. The hold it comes right there, Dave.
Worried about the backswing, but the backswing, it would have had to been the other arm that you'd have to. Okay.
Our referee is making sure that our players are safe.
Moreno just trying to let this ball drop, and he's going to this time and goes for it. You saw him yell at the floor before he hit that ball, and you knew he was going to do something good with it because he was trying to recenter himself. Do you see that head bob before he took that ball off the back wall? Kind of like Alan Garner would do.
Who?
Alan Garner, I know.
You know, Dave, we talked about this yesterday. Some days you just feel so good, and then the next day you're thinking to yourself, is that the same guy? I mean, you know, in golf, it's probably most common. A guy can shoot 73 one day and 90 the next day. What's different? It's the same course, the same clubs. I mean, Moreno to me looks like he shot a 62 yesterday, and he's on his way to an 81 today.
Side out. Timeout, Brady, your first 1 minute.
Timeout from Paul Brady. You're watching the
Score
Simple
is
Green
16,
U.S. Open
8.
of Handball on ESPN, the Watch ESPN
timeout,
app,
correct.
also
Second
the
timeout.
WPH Race for 8 Tour Stop #1 Men's Finals. We earlier had a chance to sit down with Luis Moreno and talk to him about a bunch of various things. One of those questions we gave him was, how do you get past Paul Brady? And this is what Luis Moreno had to say.
I make right there and then when it's happening, and I just have to really stay mentally stronger, and you know I can do it. You know, it's just a matter of the choices I make right there when it's happening.
Yeah, you know, he says he knows he can do it. It's about the choices he makes there at the tournament, right when it's happening. And you know, there's a lot of truth to that. You hear a lot of the other players say that they believe that Luis Moreno should win national championships, but he needs to do the other things at the tournament in preparation. And one of those things is don't catch a cold when you come here. Katrina Casey's courtside as Kara Mack has the microphone. Let's go to Kara.
If you weren't watching earlier, you did not see Katrina Casey take the U.S. Women's Finals. Congratulations again. You did awesome. You're now watching fellow Irish player Paul Brady. How is he doing?
He's doing very well. I missed the beginning of the game, but from what I've seen, he looks very settled and smooth. Despite like Luis's hooks and stuff, he's never really off balance when he's hitting the ball and serving well. So he looks good at the moment and pretty much in control. But I'm sure the game is far from over. Like I think Luis still is looking calm, and he won't give up without a fight either. So,
what have you personally learned from Paul Brady?
Well, I think he brought a new level of professionalism to the game, not just in Ireland, but like internationally. He just really has worked so hard on all areas of his game. Like you couldn't really say there's any weakness there, and his mental game is also very good. Like he's always very focused and hungry for success. So I think you can't help but learn from him, really.
As far as many Irish players coming over here, is there a lot of commodity to come and beat all these Americans?
There is, but we're so used to traveling over now. You know, we've made a lot of friends over here too. So obviously it's really nice to see the Irish doing well, and yeah, I'm looking forward to a great game.
Thank you, Katrina. Back to the game.
Thank you very much, Kara. This is the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball. Simple 1 minute timeout has now kind of been extended a little bit, as Luis Moreno is wiping down the floor here, and it's, I guess, nothing wrong with, you know, taking a little extra time to wipe off the floors here. This facility has been traditionally a very sloppy facility when it comes to the ball sliding this time of year. Now, if you play in the summer, you won't get this stuff, but usually early morning fog here creates a lot of condensation. Dave, I was talking to the groundskeeper. I said, you know, can you turn off the sprinklers, please? There's a lot of equipment. He said, that's not, sprinklers aren't on. That's the fog that comes in at nighttime and drenches everything.
I'm sure he appreciated you telling him how to do his job.
As everybody does.
Yeah, no, they really like it.
I saw 11 people this morning, 10 of them, about a handful, to include my driver.
What about the young man who came and offered you food?
Well,
I know that didn't go so well for him.
He lied to me, said it wasn't available, and I know it was because I have proof.
Wow. So you were justified.
Yeah.
Let me apologize then.
I caught him in a lie again. Last time he ever will be working for free again.
Wow.
8-18 here, game number 1.
Short. Second serve. Side out. Serving 8.
You know, David, Luis is falling back into that habit of just hitting the ball. It doesn't seem like he has any purpose.
19, serving 8.
One time, Dave, my wife watched me play, and she said, you know, you need to just aim the ball. You need to, and that's kind of what I think Luis Moreno needs to do right now. He's just hitting the ball. Doesn't seem like he has any plan. He's just hitting it. Sometimes hard, sometimes not hard. Paul Brady, of course, Dave, is well within a system.
Paul's not only hitting it, he's crushing it, and he's crushing it in the spot that he's aiming for. He's got relaxation, and they always say don't aim in handball, just hit it. But Paul right now is doing everything right.
Point.
Make that 20 now to 8. Paul Brady, game number 1.
20, game point, serving 8.
Oh, that ball looked like it slid. No call from ref nor Luis Moreno. Paul goes
First
for
game,
it
Paul
and
Brady,
takes game number 1. There will be a 5-minute break. Earlier, we sat down with Paul Brady and asked him why he liked this U.S. Open of handball so much, and Paul Brady said this when we asked him that question.
They always put up a really good show. I think the location is a big factor too. You know, especially coming from Ireland. You know, you're going to Southern California. It's so nice. Los Cabos is a lovely venue as well, and it's run so professionally as well. When you get there, the hospitality is great, and you know, you can really enjoy the surroundings, the beaches, the weather. And always the best players come and play there. So, you know, you're sure of the best competition there as well. So all around it makes for a great tournament. I think everybody loves to come to the US Open.
Yeah, they all do, and they all talk about that weather and the competition and all the things that Paul just mentioned there in that drive to the airport just a few days ago. Able to mic him up and ask him a few questions about his game, where he's at 36 as he heads to his 37th year of age, and those 9 titles and singles, and how he chases Nadia Alvarado. And hopefully throughout the season you'll see most of that interview as we play it for you and catch Paul Brady on and off the court. You're watching the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball. We're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll be back in the booth. Stick around. More action coming up and around the corner here at ESPN and the Watch ESPN app.
I'd like to thank my parents that drove me all the games, all the long away games.
We have some really far away games.
Obviously, my parents were the most important people in the world.
My mom, dad, and my older sister, Marissa.
My mom and dad for getting us involved in sports when we were kids. With 7 kids, it was never easy to get us all involved, but you did an awesome job.
The dinner table was always a fun place to be, and even if you lost on the court, you usually tried to win at the dinner table.
I'd like to thank my dad for getting me into handball and getting into sports.
I'd like to thank my father,
my dad,
first and foremost.
I'd like to thank my peer group.
My friends who I play with daily.
Ricky.
My best friend, Maria.
My freshman basketball coach. By making that freshman basketball team and the coach having seen something in me, it put me in the path to where I am now and playing sports my whole life and being more of a lifestyle.
What really got me started into sports was my grandma and my grandpa, because my grandma coached my soccer team.
My sisters,
my husband,
my wife,
my in-laws, my brother Alan for being a great player and a great model for how to be on the court.
Considering my age, which is 79, I'd like to thank handball, my younger children, and everybody that's younger than me for keeping me in this game, because I think I'm healthy and mentally alert because of it.
So thank you.
Thank you for getting me into handball.
You might have been his biggest benefactor
for supporting me and coming out here.
Creating such an amazing atmosphere.
Keeping me fired up and loving the game.
Being an inspiration.
Without them, I don't think I'd play sports.
I know it wasn't simple.
It wasn't simple.
It wasn't simple. It wasn't simple.
You should have watched sport day.
Handball is the world's oldest ball game with roots stretching back thousands of years. The game as we know it was developed in Ireland in the 15th century. Now take a look. We all know that this is the now traditional ball. It's rubber. But this is the original handball. It's made of leather and string just like a baseball. Players would hit it with their bare hands. And there still is one tournament every year held in Ireland.
Dave, that looks like the gutta percha that old Tom Morris used to play with back in the 1800s. Of course, Dave, old Tom was the greatest golfer of all time before his son, young Tom, came along.
Wow.
Yeah.
They were the only two people that ever played golf at the time.
Well,
the two best of their day.
Put it this way, Dave. Young Tom on the first hole at the British Open, 578 yards with the gutta percha and hickory shafts, made a 3. Okay? Think about that.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, that's the hard ball they play with in the big alley. Here's Paul Brady and some of our instant replays here. From the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app. We appreciate the fact that you've tuned in and watched this men's finals between our #1 power-ranked player, Luis Moreno, and the current world 3 times removed, Paul Brady, wearing the red there.
Had a chance to talk to our referee, Dave, John Bike, the Hall of Famer.
Oh, I wasn't part of that conversation. How did that go?
Asked John Bike if there's something that he's seeing courtside that maybe we're not seeing, because it is a different perspective when you're standing above the court. He said, you know, Luis is just getting into that mode where he's just swinging and hitting the ball wild. Doesn't seem to be moving his feet all that well. And, you know, Dave, what's scary for Luis Moreno is that Paul Brady played that game at about 70%. He didn't push himself there, Dave. I think Paul Brady's got a lot more in him if he needs it, which means Luis Moreno is going to need to raise his game by a factor of 10.
Well, we have the world's #1 player in the world. The world's #1 player, I should say, Paul Brady. He's won 3 times in a row. They play that every 3 years, so it's a span of what would be up to about 12 years if you think about it. He won that first one in 2003.
Yeah.
So from 2003 to now, 2040, we're at 11 years. Tournament's going to be held in Canada right around the corner.
Dave, I hate to interrupt you,
and
but
Paul
Luis
said
Moreno just came out of the tennis locker room with a towel over his mouth. It looks like he might have been throwing up during that timeout. He doesn't look good right now. You know, his face doesn't have the right tint to it. He looks ashen white.
Well, he looks like he's in shock.
I think he looks ill, actually.
Well, as I was saying, Dave, Paul Brady, when I was talking to him a couple days ago, he did say to me, I don't think I'm going to play at the Worlds. I'm not sure. I'm not completely convinced I'm going to do it.
Well, I've heard him say that, and I've also heard him say he has a lot of goals left to accomplish, and I know that winning 12 national championships is at the top of that list, and he's got to win 3 more, so you know he's around for at least 3 more years, and that falls during the World Championships, so I don't see why he wouldn't be playing in that. I'm speculating here, but you know, we've heard before that this was Paul's retirement match in Ireland 2 years ago. He's continued to play. He's shown no signs of relinquishing his throne.
Stopwatch, Nell, well past the 6-minute mark here in between games. Score was posted 6 minutes ago.
He was within the same minute.
Are you sure you didn't etch early?
No, but you see that Paul Brady's questioning it too. And then John Bike and Paul both getting a little laugh at each other. So clearly the discussion is about the time frame here as we head into game number 2.
Okay, we're going to start the second game just about 1 minute late due to both players. We have Luis Moreno serving. The score is 1 serving 1.
1-1. Both got fined for being late. So the score is 1-1. It's the first time we've seen this on a live broadcast, and the ball breaks.
It is 1-1?
The score is 1-1. Both players were fined a point because they were late.
I don't think that's a fine. Docked a point?
Well, I don't know. It's
awarded
not really
a point?
Awarded?
I thought you got -1 for being a minute late. So is it -1 to -1?
I thought it was, but Paul said 1-1.
So we're actually playing to 20 here in this game.
Right. First time we've seen it on a live broadcast.
Well, we've seen games to 25 to 15 to 11 to 21.
Have we seen a game start with 1-1 on the board? I don't think so. And then out of all of that, the funny one is the biggest delay is going to come from a broken ball on the first rally. So it almost negates putting that 1 up there, doesn't it?
I don't really understand the point of it being 1-1.
Moreno serving 1. 1 serving 1.
I'd love to hear -1 serves -1, but we get a little extra games in here.
I've actually seen a pro match end with a player at -1.
He's asking for a bad bounce on the back wall.
And that -1 came from being late?
No, it actually came from a technical, telling the ref to
2
blank
serving
blank.
1.
Huh. Well, that second blank should have been forfeit and kicked out of the tournament. I know what the first blank was.
1 serving 2.
Good trivia question. How can a player score their first point and have 2 points on the scoreboard? Yep, there's an avoidable. So we're getting the whole gauntlet of great refereeing here.
Yeah.
And referee makes a call and no complaint from the player on that avoidable hinder. Now we're all tied at 2 in game 2. Deuces are wild, slide ball. So we've got a slide, we've got a technical, an avoidable.
Double technical.
Double technical on the same play nonetheless. Just need a foot fault and bad bounce call.
Point.
We've got it all here in game number 2.
Including a kill shot.
3,
yeah.
Not as many kill shots as we have technicals, though.
Short.
Is that a good or bad sign? I thought that ball could have been good.
I call short, call stands. Second serve.
And that's a serve that Luis Moreno usually tees off on. Instead, he gives Paul Brady an opportunity, which he seizes.
4 serving 2. Point.
Paul Brady now just in cruise control, Dave. I know he drives on the left side of the road.
5 serving 2.
But He's still cruising.
Well, that was my
Oh,
vehicle
another
he
one,
was
yep.
driving a couple days ago.
Replay to slide.
Very surprised by
Replay,
that
yes.
call there, Dave. I thought that double bounced by the back
5.
wall.
I did too.
5
But
serving
both line
2.
judges agreed. And it's split, one from Ireland, one from the United
That was
States.
another slide, for sure.
Point.
That was an obvious slide to me.
No, you can ask.
That was a bigger slide than the
Call
previous.
stands. Slide in this wall. Point.
That was more obvious.
Yeah.
6 serving 2.
Luis didn't sell that very well.
Well, I thought he did. He completely stopped playing.
Yeah, but he sold it with the ref, not with the line judges. He just turned his back to their call.
I think that shot
Side out.
right there, and of course with the announcer's curse, but the ability for Paul Brady to take that half step
2
back
serving
and
6.
the Irish whip when the ball comes right at his
Yeah.
feet and do something with it.
Well, he has pace on it, too. It's like a paddle with pace.
I really think that's a shot that separates him, Dave. And I asked him about that one
Side
time,
out.
and he looked at me like he didn't even know what I was talking about. But clearly he did, because that's a shot he has and owns
Hold
that
on,
no one
guy.
else does. And you'll see it
Hold
every
on.
time Luis drives the ball at his feet with hop.
Luis,
Paul takes a half
blue
step
shirt.
back with a long.
Blue shirt. It's a final.
Wow, this is tough. Telling the player to change shirts? I've not seen that before. Then again, I don't get out often, I guess. The player not happy about this.
He's going to put this over top of his shirt. So now he's going to wear 2 shirts in a 110-degree court.
And a
What
guy
would
that's
Mark Zamora do about that? Door slam. You're out of the tournament, buddy.
referee trying to keep it light. Moreno
Brady serving.
was told that he had to
6
wear the
serving
sponsor shirt
2.
here, and he took it off. He's not happy, and it is really hot in there.
Well, Dave, I believe the problem could be is these shirts are 100% cotton. And once you've adjusted to wearing the dry fit, particularly in really hot courts, it's hard to wear cotton.
7 serving 2.
I know that you think I'm totally nuts right now with my neuroses, but
yeah, I
just
do
giving
actually.
okay. Just
Point.
giving you a reason behind Luis's
8 serving 2.
displeasure.
I've seen Luis go onto the court and play with those chest weights. I don't think he really cares much
Replay.
about little things like fabrics of shirt and thread counts and all that stuff.
So you're saying thread counts aren't important then?
8 serving 2.
8-2, game 2.
It's all about the tri-blend.
Side out.
That was an excuse me kill shot.
2 serving 8.
Set up for Luis.
You see how Luis just
Replay.
lets that ball get way too close to his body. He doesn't extend on it, and when you're hitting the ball 6 inches away from your chest, you can't do anything
2
with it.
serving 8.
There's no power or control there. That was a terrible serve from Luis. This is Paul's favorite shot.
Point.
You know, Dave, I talked to Boak Ferris yesterday. He said Luis just continues to park and shoot,
3
meaning not getting
serving
behind the
8.
ball. And you can get away with that
Short.
against most players, but not against Paul Brady. He said that's the reason that Luis Moreno is going to lose in
Second
2 games
serve.
tomorrow. And you were here, Dave, for that.
Yeah, Boak's amazing.
Well, he's probably the smartest guy I know, excluding
Side out.
you, of course.
Eight serving 3. Short ball.
That ball just took off when it hit the
I'm
ground.
calling it
Short and a
short.
slide.
Call stands. Can you check that? That one's real wet.
This is the men's finals.
Second serve.
Pro handball.
Point.
He said that one of Paul's most favorite shots is
9
that kind of that
serving
modified
3.
underhand paddle shot, but really it's when he steps into the ball about the dotted line and hits it down the right wall. It's just so perfect. And he's done it so much here in this match.
Luis had 3 easy opportunities to end that rally. Didn't put any of those shots away. Ends up losing the rally on a short hop air.
10 serving 3.
Dave, I know that cares with Luis's
Side out.
mentor figure, Fred Lewis. Maybe we go to him right now. I don't know if there will be another timeout.
3
Yeah,
serving
that's a good point.
10.
Let's go to Kara, who is courtside during these rallies, and she can talk to the great Fred Lewis. Kara?
Yeah, I've got Fred here. What do you think Luis is going through right now? What is going through his head?
Side out.
Obviously, he didn't come prepared to play hard today. This is the equivalent of a slow-pitch softball game where Luis is lobbing the ball up to Paul, and Paul is just jacking the ball out of the park. When Paul, has an opportunity, he's drilling the ball, he's hitting it hard, he's finishing, and so. I don't know what's going through his head, why, he's playing like this, but Luis has not used any of the weapons that he has in his arsenal.
What would you give advice as far as saying to him now? What shot should he be using more against Brady?
Well, the big thing is, Paul has an injury to his left hand, and I don't know why Luis is not trying to take advantage of that. He keeps serving down the right. He's giving Paul setups, and I'd like to see him drill the ball hard to Paul's left. Seems like every time he's done that, he was able to get a setup.
How's he going to make you happy right now? You appear very upset.
I don't think that's possible at this point. I think Paul's going to win this match, and he's going to win it very easily.
Luis, though, you really think that mentally he can give up this early?
I called it short.
Well, unless I see a change in attitude. I'm looking at his body language right now, and he's defeated right now.
Oh, that's a bad one. Hold on.
How much do you think this plays into the experience that Paul Brady has as well?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with it. Paul has supreme confidence. He's won every major title, in the last 8 to 10 years on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean. And, it carries over. Every time he gets in the court, he feels like he's going to win, and he has the game to do it, and he's super consistent.
Luis is one of the only people to beat Paul Brady recently. How do you think he did it then that he's not doing now?
Well, it was a long time ago, and, as I said, Luis has the ability to play a lot better than what he's showing, and he's not doing it.
Thank you so much. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Kara. And there's another skip in, about 4 since Fred started talking. I think Fred was getting madder and madder watching Luis play the way that Fred was describing he was playing while he was doing it, that interview.
14.
And it is frustrating because you can see those things so easily here on camera, Dave, that Fred's talking about. Number one, he knows that Paul's hurt with the whole left side of his body, and he's not hitting any balls
15,
there.
Serving 3.
And then when he has a chance to execute, he's missing those opportunities.
Every shot Luis hits, Dave, is either a setup or a skip.
Side out.
Paul plays the middle of the court. Luis goes with an underhand hard paddle there.
3 serving 15.
Dave, this kind of reminds me of the Super Bowl from last year, Denver against Seattle. You were expecting such a great game, and within 30 seconds it was over.
Well, the game was over after that first 30 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of how this feels. And then, you have to play it out for the final 60 minutes.
Right
Here you have to play it out until.
Slide, it's a slide.
And then Luis can't buy a break. Every single time he's getting to a point where he can score, it ends on a slide call. Or a slide call that's called that he doesn't want to be called a slide.
And Dave, Luis has 3 points, but remember, he started the game with 1, so he's only scored 2.
Another slide call.
15, serving 3. Bad bounce.
And a bad bounce there.
But it went sideways off the seam.
Dave, that's 29 replays thus far in this match, counting
3.
slides and bad bounces, not including hinders.
That wasn't a bad bounce off of the front camera hole. That was off the seam of the front wall.
Huh.
that he called that bad bounce.
Yeah.
16, serving 3. Point.
Oh, my.
Paul Brady is just relentless. He is not
17, serving 3.
going to take his foot off the pedal here.
Short.
It's pretty scary when he starts the season off with a major injury on the
Second
left side of his
serve.
body. A major for him, I should say. And he can play this dominant against the current ranked #1 pro.
Well, there has been some talk about Paul Brady, maybe his injuries being a bit overstated.
Well, we saw right here on camera how bad that one was.
Not so sure.
I mean, he's doing all the things with his good arm that Luis should be doing with both of his.
But how is Paul Brady injured when he's swinging like that with his left arm? Oh,
Look.
my.
Side out.
Paul Brady, even up 17-3 in 1 game to none, is still out hustling Luis Moreno.
3, serving 17. Point. Four, serving 17.
Dave, we've all been in this position before. You know, you're down 17-4. You've lost the first game. The match is over. What do you do at that point?
Side out.
You just keep
I know,
giving it
that
your
was
all,
right, you were
go
right
through the
smack in his
motions.
way.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been in this position, and sometimes I just kind of all of a sudden start scoring points and say, why couldn't? And then you're mad at yourself for not playing like this
serving 4.
for the whole match. So what goes through your head is, for me, it's been why. That could have been called short.
Yeah, it might be a pure.
Not to say that Luis is all of a sudden going to start scoring
Right out.
points, because he has to do that before it can go through his head. But what's gone through my head many times is, why can't we start right now?
Serving 17.
Now let's start the match, because I'm ready to play.
I'm not sure Luis even wants that. You know, Paul Brady, just like every great champion that's ever played, has the ability to make you look and feel like you're playing bad. But it's really what he's doing, not so much what you're doing.
Long rally here.
Side
Paul
out.
punches that underhand fist shot, gets side out, going to call a
Paul
timeout.
Brady is first. 1 minute. Score is 17-4.
And Dave, I know you've played against all the great players of the last 20 years, including Nani Alvarado Sr. You've had a chance to be on the court with him, but when you play against these great players, it just feels like, I was just playing so well, and now I'm playing so bad. You know,
Yeah.
and it's because of what they're doing. They put a pressure on you that you've never really experienced before. They're putting balls in spots that you're not comfortable, and it just makes you feel like you've never even played before. And then
Yeah.
you go in and play the next day against somebody that's at your own level, and you say, "Oh, I got my game back." I don't know why I couldn't have played better yesterday, though. But you know, it's much more what they're doing.
It's kind of like the way the Green Bay Packers started the season. They just did
20
not look like they could be a
seconds.
Super Bowl team. And after about week number 2, going into week 3, all of a sudden now they're unbeatable. And you say, well, are we the elite? Are we elite? I mean, we are now, but we weren't just a week ago. And then they can go on a string now and start winning some games. And you have to do some, you start looking back and say, is it the competition that we're facing when we lose? Is it ourselves that's not performing correctly? You start asking yourselves these questions. I played against Nani Alvarado when he was right about 50, and I said, this guy should be on the Pro Tour still. Why isn't he on the Pro Tour? You know? It seems like these shots work against the dudes at home. They're not working here.
Well, Dave, as you know, Dave, if you can just win 5 or 6 games in the NFL through the first 10 and then get hot, that's all that really matters. So week 1 is really insignificant. As long as you don't start off like the Jags or the Bucks, you know, you're right there in the hunt. I mean, don't wild cards win every championship?
Well, that's usually how it is, even in Major League Baseball, when you
Yeah.
see teams like the Giants tied at 2 here in the World Series.
Against
currently.
another wild card team that was
Right.
down 4 with, 5 outs to go in the 1-game wild card playoff.
Resuming play. Paul Brady serving. 17, serving 4. Point.
There was so much build-up.
We are appealing a bad bounce on the back wall. Call stands. Point. 18, serving 4.
Wow.
Point.
There's just so much build-up, Dave, coming into this match. Even on the grounds yesterday, I had so many people coming up to me and asking me who I thought would win.
Serving 4.
A lot of talk about this match, and Paul
Serve.
Brady ended all the drama virtually immediately.
Second serve. Side out. Four, serving 19. Bad, replay.
Very interesting beginning of this tournament when Paul Brady
2
started
serves.
chirping on social media about how the scores
Bad
weren't reported
bounce.
correctly on one of his matches when the score was reported 1 point off
4, serving 19.
by giving the player that he defeated 1 extra point, and he was serious. And you can see that he came in here focused, Dave. I think doing those Zen trips to Tucson and not playing any handball there,
19, serving
but trying to get his
4.
head straight is important to a guy like Brady.
Point.
Paul Brady said to me when he was in Tucson, how could anybody be upset about anything when you live here?
Well, come there in
20,
July.
point,
Let me know what
serving
you think
4.
then.
Here it is, game and match, and I think he just got it right here. And he
That's the
does.
match.
Paul Brady
Brady
takes down the
wins,
Simple Green
21-8,
U.S. Open of Handball,
21-4.
defeating power rank #1 Luis Moreno in the process, and Paul Brady stays on this court here. He knows what's going to go on. He knows the routine. I believe this is his third singles championship on this court, or is it number 4? I know that he won in 2006. He also won in 2007, and then after that, it's
I
kind
think it's his 5th, Dave.
wow. I know he won doubles or came out here and played doubles one year, and he had that cracked finger. Paul Brady takes down another winner, another trophy, gets the big check here at the Simple Green U.S. Open, and wins race stop #1 in Fountain Valley, California, with the Tucson Pro Stop #2 coming up in just a couple weeks in November. Paul Brady has already committed to that stop, but we'll have to see how that arm is going to treat him. And Luis Moreno making a really quick exit right out of the facility. Grabbed his bag and he's gone.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Luis Moreno. I mean, it's still a great payday for him, but you know, when you're a champion of Luis Moreno's caliber, second place does not feel good.
You see,
it does pay a lot of bills, though.
Yeah. Paul Brady there waiting for our sideline reporter, Kara Mack, to get over to him and for that interview, and he's going to get back onto the court here as the big presentation's about ready to get played out.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we're watching this presentation here. Paul's actually directing Kara, telling her where to stand.
Brady loves Simple Green, loves Simple Green.
Let's go to Kara.
This is your 4th out of 8 U.S. Open to win. Last year you weren't here, but how does it feel to come back and win this one?
It feels great. You know, like I took a loss earlier in the year, so I wanted to get the season off to a good start. It's a long year this year, you know, so I'm just happy with the win now. I can relax in Tucson and just relax and play. It takes a lot of pressure off me. So.
Lastly, last year, Luis Moreno won. Do you think he came in here with too much confidence? He said that he was going to crush you today. How do you think that went down?
It didn't matter. I just concentrated on playing the game. And, I don't care, you know, what anyone says. I just try and get the best out of myself, and I did today. I felt good. I felt the best I've felt all week. So I felt really good today coming here, and I felt confident if I play well. I always feel I can win, you know.
Talk a little bit after that first point. You went down Hurt your elbow, you left for a little bit.
Yeah, it's just I hyperextended it. If I had been standing on the ground, I probably wouldn't have been as bad, but I was jumping in the air, so I had no support. So it's just a bit of pins and needles, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
After being injured last year and that happens, what was your initial thoughts of when you were just hurt initially?
Nothing really. I knew it wasn't really bad, but I just wanted to take the few minutes just to get it right. I didn't want to take too long then because I thought if I do, it's going to seize up. So it'll probably be sore later when I cool down. So I didn't want to cool down too much. I knew it'd be okay.
Any particular strategies coming in knowing that you're going to be playing Moreno?
No, you just have to bring your best game. That's the only way you can beat Luis. You got to bring your best game every time, or he's going to beat you. So, I brought my best game today, thankfully, and I saved the best to last. I probably was a bit complacent yesterday, maybe, and I felt much better today. I knew the threat was there. So, like I say, you have to bring your A game when you play Luis.
Is there any difference? You played Charlie Shanks yesterday, had a bit more of a hard time beating him there versus Moreno today. Is there a difference when you play an Irish player versus an American?
Not really. I don't think any differently when I play. Like I said, Charlie played great. Kind of was a bit flat, I felt. Like I said, I just had to up the intensity. It can be difficult, when you're playing the same players over and over and over. They're bound to get close at some point. It's hard to keep motivating yourself to beat the players again. From a human point of view, you're nearly, it's not nice to beat players, But if I wasn't winning, I'd hope some of them players, I'd wish them the best, and if they were winning. So, like I say, from that point of view, it can be hard to get that bite all the time to try and beat players. But like I said, in the second game yesterday, I brought that. I had to up the intensity, and I kind of same here again today. There's no feeling sorry for anyone. They're there to beat me, so I've got to take that same attitude. Do you know what I mean? Kill or be killed. That's just the way it is.
Can't always be the nice guy, right?
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So heading to Tucson next, what are you going to do from here to then to know that you have to come beat these guys again?
I'm going to Vegas for a few days. I'm just going to relax, and then I go fly to Tucson next weekend. I'll get some games, and it's just more relax. This tournament is, I'll just relax till the next one and play a few games and just enjoy my time in Vegas and Tucson and enjoy the next tournament. Like I say, there's a bit of pressure off now. I can relax a bit more.
All right, I know you're looking forward to holding this, so I'm going to pass it off to Nadi, who's going to present you with your reward.
That one as your first place. This is your 4th championship in the U.S. Open out of 8 tournaments, so congratulations. That was well done. And you're still looking good for an old man.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
So that's going to be the Paul Brady Trophy.
Thanks very much.
Nice work, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks for everything.
Very, very much.
I really appreciate it.
Good effort.
Thank you.
Well, there's Bruce Fabrizio, Nadi Alvarado, Paul Brady. That award being presented, as well as Marissa, Nadi Alvarado's granddaughter, Nadi Alvarado Jr.'s daughter, there on the court next to Paul Brady. Our champion, the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball and Race for 8 stop number 1 here at Los Caballeros Sports Village in Fountain Valley, California, where Paul Brady takes down Luis Moreno in 2 straight, 21-8, 21-4. Our biggest shellacking that we have ever seen in the finals of the men's division. Most years, Dave, goes to tiebreaker. In fact, it seems like if we've had 6 or 7 of these, 5 of them at least have made it to tiebreaker in the men's finals, and I've not seen a lopsided score like 8-4 score line in our history of any division that I recall ever doing.
Yeah, we've seen an 11-10 tiebreaker final, 2 11-9 tiebreaker finals, just some really outstanding matchups in the finals. Today we had exactly what we wanted, the 2 best players, what we considered to be the best rivalry in men's pro handball, but it just did not materialize today for, I think, a couple of reasons. One being that Paul Brady looked flawless. Secondly, Luis Moreno, like Fred Lewis said, just did not look prepared to play for whatever reason, whether that was being sick or not preparing himself well between his match yesterday and this morning, or just lacking the confidence, or maybe just not bring his best game today. But Paul Brady, Dave, is the deserving champion, as he always is. He wins everything. There doesn't seem to be any stopping him. He'll be in action again in less than 2 weeks on these airwaves, Dave, and looking to potentially claim the #1 ranking on the WPH Race for a Tour for the first time should he win that event in Tucson.
Well, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to have the men's pro double finals coming up next with Nikolai Nahorniak and Tyree Bastidas going up against Marcos Chavez and Vic Perez. Marcos is a multiple-time U.S. Open champion here in the doubles. He's going to see if he can change partners and get back to those winning ways. We'll have another big one coming up right around the corner on ESPN, the Watch ESPN app for Dave Fink, as well as Kara Mack, Linda Manning, Chris Garrad, Jeff Kastner, Dana Williams, and Matt Tatiano, as well as Tanner Cleveland and Lolita DeVincent. We want to say thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with more action here in Fountain Valley, California for the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball. Stick with us.
Get a remarkable clean with non-toxic and biodegradable Simple Green all-purpose cleaner. Use straight from the bottle on heavy grime or dilute the concentrated formula to make up to 44 bottles of daily cleaner. Safe for all washable surfaces, Simple Green can be used indoors and out, from kitchens and bathrooms to living and play areas, countertops and floors to furniture and clothing. Keep your home and our world clean with Simple Green.